Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Legends from the Past and the Future. I am Armand and Ayana. How are you doing tonight, Ayana? Ayana, can you hear me?
All is well, all is well.
Awesome. Hey, things going pretty good. We got a lot of stuff coming up. Next week we got some events going on. What's happening next week, Ayana?
Next week, May 8th, we are going to be broadcasting live from Lima Twist, DC. That's on May 8th. There will be a networking event from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then afterwards, there will be an after party until 1 a.m. You don't have to stay until 1 a.m. like me, but we do encourage you to come meet us live. Let us interview you. Come talk about your business. Come make invaluable connections. We are going to have a great time.
Awesome.
And the admission for the event is free. We're only paying for your dinner and drinks. So come on down. There's parking. So there's no parking in DC. It's not an excuse. So there's valet parking. Come on down. We'd love to meet you.
Awesome. Now, also, Yana, last year we sponsored a golf event in Davidsonville, Alabama A&M University alumni chapter. So we're gonna be sponsoring them again this year, and we'll be streaming live just like we did last year from the golf event. I'm looking forward to that. Also, they're even gonna have someone out there that's gonna.
Oh, that was so much fun! I can't wait.
Yes, absolutely. But guess what, man? We're gonna have a learning experience tonight. We got some really trailblazers in the house. They got this business called Negate the weight, and anyone out there that's having problems with their nutrition or gaining weight, well, tonight is the night. Yeah, you ready for them?
I'm ready for him. Bring him up.
Let's bring him to the stage. Coming to the stage is Coach Derrick and his lovely wife, Dr. Rosalind Wright. Good evening. How you guys doing tonight?
Hey, folks, how are you all? It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. Welcome, man. It only took about 3 years to get you, man.
Hey, man. I finally made it to the big leagues, brother. Finally made it to the big leagues.
Hey, well, look, before we get started, we're gonna travel down memory lane, and it's gonna be for both of them. Okay. Before we get started, just want to say, Lenny, welcome to the show. What's going on? Thanks for joining us. Starting with you, Derrick. Let's go down memory lane. Where were you born and raised?
The year was 1958. I was born in Annapolis, Maryland. For the first 6 years of my life, I lived in the Fourth Ward on Pleasant Street. My sixth or seventh year, we moved to Annapolis Garden, AG for life. Yeah. And from there, when I went to the seventh grade, we moved to Eastport. And once we moved to Eastport, it was definitely a culture shock because we moved in a neighborhood that predominantly didn't look like us. So it was a major adjustment going from Annapolis Garden to that. And my first year over there, I went to Annapolis Junior High. Well, man, I kicked and screamed until I got back to Base Junior High School. Okay, because that's where all my friends were. Everybody that I grew up with went to Base. And as you know, most of the people know me as Showbiz from Annapolis. And I'm going to tell you how I got that name. First of all, when I was about 8 or 9 years old, we were in a singing group called the Junior Temptations. And I was I was the youngest member in the group. And everywhere we went, we would win first place and all of that. So I did a lot of singing and dancing. I played sports and all those kind of good things. And when I got back over to Base Junior High School, a good friend of mine, Flash Cadillac, a.k.a. Jeffrey Tools, told me that I was going to go to Hollywood and be a big star one day. So he started calling me Showbiz. And Armand, it just stuck, bro. I mean, it just so everywhere I went, people called me. Even when I was in college, people to this day don't know my real name. You know, they just know me as Showbiz. You know, and from high school, I went to college, and what I'm most proud of and what I feel like I achieved the most of is, you know, Annapolis is a football town. Okay, and all 3 years in high school, I got cut. But praise be to God, when I went to college, I walked in the coach's office and asked him, could I try out for the team? And it was almost like the Dorothy walking into the Wizard of Oz. My knees were shaking. And so I asked the coach, could I try out for the team? He looked at me and started laughing. And he told me, as long as I had insurance, I said, yes, sir, I got Blue Cross and Blue Shield. But then what happened was, man, that summer, a good friend of mine, you know him as Rock, Kenny Belton. Now, man, we ran that whole summer. I would run from Eastport to Annapolis Garden and then run back. So by the time I got to college, I ended up with a track scholarship and had never ran track in my life because we had this 2-mile run, and I would be back like 35 or 40 minutes before everybody was back. So from there, I got a track scholarship, and then subsequently over the years, I got more and more money to play football. So, you know, one of the things I always tell people is if you have a dream, no matter what the obstacles are, you need to continue to pursue it, you know, because a lot of people would have just gave up, but I wasn't going to give up because, like I said, we come from a football town and football was king. You know, basketball came later on, but, you know, football and the Naval Academy and all that. So I just thank God that, you know, he gave me the mental fortitude in order to ride out that supposedly storm. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Wright.
Dr. Ross. How you doing, man?
I am doing good. Surprisingly, you called me just what a lot of people call me, Dr. Ross. And you might not have known that.
I did not. Well, tell everybody where you were born and raised.
Okay, I was born in Churchton. Well, wait a minute. I was born in Oklahoma. My dad was in the military. So I was born in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And when they came back home, I was raised in Churchton, Maryland. So that's down, y'all probably call it down in the country because it was down by where Shadyside, Churchton, Deal, going down towards Galesville, all that way. That's where I was raised. I went to Southern Senior High School. And during the years that I went to Southern Senior High School, we were pretty good. We were beating Annapolis pretty good.
Yeah, right.
Don't you start that now.
He didn't know I was going to tell that story. But the funny thing is, I have my dad's sister is a nurse, and I have a great aunt that's a nurse. So of course, I then wanted to become a nurse. I tell people, you be what you see. Yeah. So for those people that are listening, and you might have children, grandchildren, I would encourage you to try to make sure that you show them or share with them different opportunities and different things that they can do. Because if they see different things, then that's going to make them want to do different things. So I knew I wanted to be a nurse, and high school just wasn't getting it for me, I guess, because at 16, I graduated from high school and I went to the community college for a year. It was supposed to be that I was going to get my associate's degree. And of course, after I take all of the classes, I would get to the classes that nurses get. But when the time came for me to get to the classes that nurses get, now, mind you, they said it depended upon your grade. And you kind of know how Anne Arundel County Community College looks. And so I had all A's. I think it was 1B, but they told me I still wasn't ready to get into the clinical courses. So I said, okay, well, I'm just going to go then. So I left. I went to Coppin State College, which is now Coppin State University. A real good move. I'm a strong advocate for HBCUs. I think you really, especially when my first degree, I really was pleased with what you learned, the valuable lessons that you learned in that setting. And then from there, I was actually going to go to Howard, but Howard was acting kind of crazy a little bit. So I went on to University of Maryland for my master's. And then from there, I went to Johns Hopkins University for my doctorate, all related to nursing.
Wow, that's really impressive. You know, and before I ask you this next question, then pass it to Ayana, we were 5 minutes in, and I almost put some house rules on you. talking about Southern beating the Nappers. Now, you know, come on, man.
You know what? You would have had my, and I would have second those house rules. What's wrong with her? It took like 1 year, and that's that.
How did you two meet? And do you have any children?
Yes, we have 3 sons. And ironically, you're not going to, well, you probably, we met at Peerless Friends Club. I met my wife in June and married her in September. And it'll be 39 years for us in September. So,
Wow.
You know, she chased me down, and, you know, she just couldn't resist.
They don't believe that at all.
So she just finally got them hooked in. But man, yeah. We have 3 sons. The oldest one, Chris, he lives in Atlanta. The other 2, Derrick and Demetrius, they both went to Morehouse. They have their own business. You know, they do catering. They actually do 600 meals a week for a halfway house. So you know, they're doing really, really well. We all doing.
And what I'm surprised that he didn't mention is a part of the things that we do at Negate is we also, during COVID, some of the people were saying we can't get out, what are we going to eat, et cetera, et cetera. And so because our son was actually a chef, we asked him if he could prepare some healthy meals for us, for our clients. And so for the last since COVID, we have been also offering healthy meals to our healthy gourmet meals to our clients and others.
Yeah.
I find that not only our clients want the healthy meals, we really find that the older people who the elderly, we get a lot of people that have health related issues and don't want to cook. People that don't want to cook anymore, and so it's a wide variety of people that young people, young and old, that request us to do meals.
And actually, Almond came over to the office one time and got one of the meals. So
yeah,
so he can probably attest to how good the food is.
Hey, that food is outstanding. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, I'm gonna pass it over to Ayana, but what I do have for you when we get towards the end, you remember the Newlyweds game?
Yeah.
Oh Lord, we're in trouble.
You
leave it to and always trying to start some trouble. Look at that.
It's supposed to be a lot of fun, bro. I feel you.
Always stirring the pot.
You know.
So this next question is for both of you. I'll start with Dr. Roz. Who was your biggest mentor growing up? I mean, to graduate high school at 16 is a big accomplishment. Mm-hmm. Who kind of helped you to get to the stage or to be so disciplined that you were able to graduate at such an early age?
I would say it's my parents. Well, my aunt, of course, because she was a nurse, but the inspiration really came, I believe, from both of my parents. I mean, you know, back in the day, we were raised a certain way. So certain things you could do, things you couldn't do. And it was funny. My dad used to test me with different things, and he would start calling out things, and then he would just say a big word, and I was supposed to figure out what that was. That's when I'm learning the muscles and the bones and all of those kind of things. But that's where I would. That's. Oh Lord, he want me to tell you. my dad is a waterman, and so he would catch crabs during the summer, and different people wanted crab meat. So myself, my sister, and a couple of our friends, we used to pick crabs. And I guess I was competitive because I had to beat everybody, even picking crab meat. I had to be the one that was the fastest in getting the crab meat done. And ironically, after picking crabs that one summer, we had enough money. I bought a 68 Chevy. A Chevy Impala.
Wow. So, that's a lot of crab picking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now.
Wonderful. How about you, Coach Derrick? Who are your biggest influences?
Besides my parents, one of the people, and of course my family, one of the people that was not biologically related to me, but really was my mentor and helped me tremendously, was a guy you all had on the show, which was Wayne Gerald. Wayne Gerald kind of took me under his wing And because when I was in 11th and 12th grade, I was kind of doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. He gave me a job. He kind of introduced me to the whole college atmosphere. I always knew I wanted to go to college, but I would, he would take me down to Eastern Shore. We did this program called Upward Bound. I think ever since I was in like the 10th grade, he always gave me a job, so I had something to do after school. And he was somebody that every chance I can get, I really thank him, and I really kind of praise him because I look up to him, because he was the one that kind of, him, and I'm gonna tell you somebody else that really helped us too, was Miss Scott. Because my mother didn't go to college or anything, like we didn't know how to fill out the paperwork and all of that. And she was instrumental in helping my mom. Back then the whole community used to help out, and she kind of helped my mother navigate us through the whole process of applications and all that kind of stuff for college. So yeah, but I would say Wayne Gerald was probably my biggest mentor coming out of high school.
Wow. Okay. Wonderful. And so, what got you guys inspired to start a business around weight loss?
You can go ahead because.
Well, I would say what really, when I got my master's degree, I focused on body image in relationship to obesity. Everybody in my family was overweight on both sides. And I was always afraid, when am I going to get that? When is that going to happen to me? Because when you see it growing up. And so one of the things that I found is that people that were overweight, they just didn't look at themselves the same way. They won't go and sit in a certain chair. They won't walk a certain place because they know that they may not be able to squeeze, if you will, in between the chairs and so forth. So I studied that in my master's program. And then you want to talk about with the kids and you.
Well, yeah. Once I came home from school, and once my kids became a certain age, we was always involved with coaching. You know what I mean? We go all the way back to Mr. Wutty and all of those. Those people played a major role in building the character, not only on the field but off the field. So I went with job right into coaching. I was the commissioner of the Allentown Boys and Girls Club. And we did all that. And what I would do after school is if my kid, every Monday, what I would do is I would let my kids watch the film. And what we would do is we would have hot dogs and hamburgers. And like, if you had homework and all that kind of stuff, you did all that kind of stuff, after school. And to this day, those kids, they come up to me and they kind of still call me coach, and they still look at me as coach. I wasn't their official coach, but I was their first coach, So, sports, like I said, sports played a pivotal role in all of our lives, growing up, man. And so basically just like you did, I tried to pass it on and pass it back down to my kids. So,
and you had to be a certain weight. So in order to play on the team, you had to be a certain weight. So,
well, I don't know about the 90 pound and 100.
And so that's where he came in.
Yeah, man, I had him out there running, and they was sweating, and I was working everything off of him. And you need to make weight because during that time you had to weigh yourself every week. So, so that's where the whole weight thing on from my end. And, we were always self-conscious about being in shape. You know what I mean? No matter what we did. I always tell people I was born in 1958. I'm a child of the 60s, so it is not too much I haven't done. But one of the things we always did was, even like on Sunday mornings, if we played ball and, we would play ball, then drink, then play ball, then drink. But we were always active, and that played a pivotal role in my life, especially with bringing up my sons. All of them played all sports. So but getting back to the weight thing, and this is how God moves, and this is how God works. I had a guy move into my neighborhood. He was like a doctor. He was like the godfather of the carbohydrate weight revolution. Because our program is not based on calories; it's based on carbohydrates. I trained under him for 2.5 years. Okay. And once I trained under him, we opened up an office in Waldorf. And then about a year after that, we kind of went our own separate way, and we, changed the name and everything. And we've been in business now for how many years?
Almost 15 years.
Almost 15 years. Almost 15 years. And we probably helped over 1,000 people lose weight, And one of the things we always tell people, it doesn't necessarily have to be about weight loss. This could just be about healthy eating. A lot of times when people have a heart attack and a stroke, they're not overweight, or cholesterol, they're not necessarily overweight, but it's just learning how to eat what we're eating. And one of the things I always tell people is, always read anything before you eat it, because it'll be touted as being healthy, but then when you turn on the back, it's got 2,400 milligrams of sodium in it. Now that's supposed to be a healthy meal. So, just be conscious about what you're putting in your body. Okay. Yo, next question.
Well, I can go on further. And so from the health perspective, I always tell people there are 4 things that you really should know when you go to the doctors, whether you need to lose weight or not. The 4 things that you should know is you need to make sure they tell you what your blood pressure is, what your blood sugar is, what your blood cholesterol is, and your body mass index or your weight. Because sometimes what happens when we go into the doctor's office, a lot of times we kind of intimidated a little bit. And we are a little bit anxious when it's time to go into the doctor's office. So sometimes we will forget the most important things to ask. But I encourage people to write those 4 things down. So when they go into the office, they can say, these are the things that I need to know. And you want to know your blood pressure. And when you're learning your blood pressure, typically the blood pressure that you're looking for is 120/80. When that top number starts creeping up, as it gets close to 130, then there starts to be a concern. If it gets to what we call 140/90, then now the doctor is talking about that you might have high blood pressure. What people don't tell you, though, is that top number represents how hard your heart is pumping to put the blood through your various organs in your body. The bottom number is really when your heart is resting, or the time between the heartbeats. So it's important to know that information so that when you go in, you can tell. Sometimes when you go to the doctor, they call it a white coat syndrome. Somebody's blood pressure might be up really, really high, and you don't believe that's the normal blood pressure. So it's okay to ask them to check it again, after they finish, after you've had time to calm down. So we go over that because we want to make sure not only do people lose weight, but if they're having challenges with their blood pressure, we would like to see if we can help you get that blood pressure down to the point where you may not even have to take any medications.
And we have been successful with a lot of people in our program as far as lowering their blood pressure and the A1C as far as diabetics. We've actually had people that were taken off of insulin, and actually had people that were taken off of metformin and some of those things they use for diabetes. Because ultimately, what you want to do is you want to try to, as we get older and our metabolism slow down, it's inevitable. And I tell people this, we're all going to have some type of health issue, but it's how you relate to the health issue and how you maintain the health issue that determines the quality of your life. You understand what I'm saying? So, one of the things we always tell people is always be conscious about what you're putting in your body, how you're putting in your body, and when you're putting it in your body. And I'm gonna say one more thing. It's some things that are real simple. As a woman, if your waist is larger than a 35, you're considered obese. If you're a man and your waist is larger than 40, you're considered obese. So those are just some basic guidelines that you can go by, as far as obesity, And
so the other thing that when whenever somebody says they have high blood pressure, the first thing they say is, well, how much salt are you using? You're probably putting too much salt on things. And in actuality, the amount of salt that you can get, the limit usually is 2,300. But if you're over 50, if you're African American, if you have diabetes, if you have high blood pressure, that number goes down to 1,500 milligrams. 1 teaspoon of salt is 2,300 milligrams. So that helps you to see just how much salt you could be potentially putting on your food. Why don't you tell them some foods they can?
So let me. Okay, I love my salt. Okay, all right. Yeah. So I'm gonna tune you out right now. But anyway, negate the weight. All right. So what inspired you to come up with the name Negate the Weight, and what is Negate the Weight?
basically, when you negate something, you get rid of it. You kind of let it go. And how we came up with the name is, we were sitting in Baltimore and we were going to turn our program into an LLC for about 30 or 45 minutes.
Maybe
we sit in the parking lot and we couldn't come up with a name, and we just coming up with all these names. And we said, negate the weight. And they said, why not negate the weight? But what's ironic is a lot of times people have to say it twice because it's kind of hard to say. And just like you said, what is negate the weight? But it means to get rid of, to take something away. And basically, what we try to do is we try to get you to take away an unhealthy lifestyle. One of the things I tell people, there are no perfect eaters. Easter just passed. I had turkey, I had ham, I had sweet potatoes, I had macaroni. But what you do is you do that in moderation. So ever since then, I went back to eating the healthy the way that I was supposed to eat. But now let me say this to you too. One of the reasons why you love your salt, because 75 to 77% of your food already has salt in it. Because those are the additives and preservatives that are used to change the coloring of the food, to change the longevity of the food, and really to make the food more enticing to you. So a lot, just like maybe 80 or 90 years ago, our people would take food and put it in salt on and put it in the smokehouse. Now what they do is they use chemicals and already have it in the food. So 77% of our food already has salt in it. So that's why you really need to be, careful. Yeah. Most African Americans should only have maximum teaspoon of salt per day.
Okay.
And the thing is, when we were
hold on, because he loves his salt. So
go ahead.
No. Well, okay, Dr. Ross. Okay, there's a lot of different diets you can put yourself on. I strongly believe when you fast, you're doing yourself greater than just putting yourself on a particular diet. That's just me. But I'm obese. I came to you. I'm struggling. What would be your game plan for someone that's let's say I'm 5'5", 235 pounds, and how would you help me negate the weight?
First of all, I would not tell you that I'm going to put you on a diet.
Okay.
I would tell you that we're going to put you on a healthy eating plan.
Okay.
I would sit with you and go over what your height is and what your weight is, and I would show you what your body mass index is. I would help you understand that when that tool was first developed, that the first part of it, the numbers that are very, very low, they're not numbers that's usually like us. Because research, when people do research, a lot of times we're not in that research. So we tend to move those numbers up a little bit because, and we try to find out where you want to be. You might not want to be down at 140 pounds. You might just want to lose 40 pounds. And when you lose that 40 pounds, that might have you looking all good in your clothes and everything. And also it might help you with your if you're on any medicines, you're starting to feel better. And all of those things are going to change the way you see things.
Okay. Basically what we would do if you came to us, what we do is we would put you on a moderate carb plan. And in order for you to lose weight, and we usually don't tell people this, but I'm going to tell you because you were gracious enough to have us on your show. And this is what I answered. In order for you to lose weight, you need to eat anywhere between 50 to 100 carbohydrates per day. In order for you to maintain your weight, you need to eat anywhere between 100 to 175 carbs per day.
Less than 150, around 125.
150, okay. In order for you to gain weight, you need to eat over 200. Yeah. And one of the things I tell people is write this stuff down. Most Americans eat over 250 carbohydrates per day. That's why we're one of the most obese countries in the world. Now, basically what we do is this. When you come to us, what we'll do is for the first 4 to 6 weeks, we'll tell you lose 15 to 20 pounds. And you'll eat 50 to 100 carbs per day. And here's what's really important, Amar. And here's what, like you said, there's a lot of diet plans out there. First of all, we don't believe in diet plans because diets don't work. That's why we call it healthy eating, because that's really, really what it's about. But basically, a lot of the programs that they have out there now, they'll work, but then what will happen when you stop using the program? So here's what we do. And this is one of the most important things. What we do is Once you lose that 15 or 20 pounds, let's say you want to lose 30, 35, 40 pounds. What we'll do is we'll ask you for 10 or 15 of your favorite foods. What we do is we slowly incorporate those foods back into your healthy eating plan. So as you're eating the healthy food, but you're also eating some of the foods that you used to eat. So then that way you're still losing weight, but you're adding some of the foods back in that you used to eat. Mm-hmm. And, you know, one of the things we tell people is, that, like I said, we are a moderate carb program, but there are good carbs and there are bad carbs. And let me give you an example. Okay. If you're going to work out in the morning time and you get up to make a smoothie and you put pineapples, apples, papaya, orange juice, spinach, and all that, and you go into the gym, that's absolutely fine. But if you put all those ingredients in a smoothie and drink it and go sit behind a cubicle, that's not good. Because what's going to happen is because you put those fruits in there that are high in sugar, your blood sugar is going to spike and it's going to make you hungry faster. So what we would suggest that you do, you would use blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, cantaloupe, honeydew melon, grapefruit, because they're less highly concentrated in sugar. So they won't spike your blood sugar as high. But then what we would do is, okay, that would be phase 1. Phase 2, we would ask you for 10 or 15 of your favorite foods. Phase 3 is we would put you on a maintenance program, maybe once a month, once every other month. You check in and we say, man, we got people that's been checking in with us now for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. We got people lost 100 pounds, 70. Her sister lost over 100 pounds before she passed. We've had people lose 100 pounds, 80 pounds. I mean, you know, but the main thing is not losing the weight. That's not the hardest thing, is keeping the weight off once you lose the weight, because it's once you go back to eating some of the things that you used to eat, that's where the weight gain comes back. That's why you need to be careful. And ultimately, I tell people this: if you can eat, once you lose that weight, if you can eat 2 good meals a day and 1 bad meal, you'll maintain that weight loss.
So what happens is when they come in, I do all that clinical stuff that I just talked to you all about, and then I send them to the CEO. So when I
on paper, that's not it.
When I send them to the CEO, that's when he goes over all of that stuff with them. He gives them examples of what to do and how to do it, and they put together what they're going to be writing down, what they ate and so forth. And then when they come back each week, when they come back, I weigh them. I do the clinical stuff, and part of that, honestly, it's so funny. Women still really don't necessarily like men to weigh them, so I'll weigh them, and usually what I give him is just they lost this. that and it usually works. Every now and then he might have to weigh them, but most of the time I do that part.
And realistically, what we do also is we are real with people. Okay, just like your birthday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, eat what you want to eat. But here's what we do. Each day, okay, what we'll do is we'll give you a holiday schedule. Okay. Like you weigh in once a week in our program, and what happens is, like the week before Christmas, what happens is we won't weigh you that week. So when you come back, basically all we want you to do is break even. So what we'll do is we'll give you your food with sweet potatoes, turkey, dressing, and all that. And each day what you do is Christmas you pig out. Okay, you eat 175 carbs. The day after Christmas you eat 125 carbs. The day after that you eat. So by the time you come back to us, basically, you're eating the food, you're eating the same amount of carbohydrates that you used to eat. And all we tell you to do is we want you to break even. We would love for you to lose weight, but if you come back, even if you 1 or 2 pounds up because of your birthday or holiday, if you've lost 25 pounds, you're still ahead of the game.
Yeah, and we really do that at Thanksgiving. The people can eat basically whatever they want on Thanksgiving Day. Then the day after Thanksgiving, they're going to eat a lot of the leftovers, but it's going to be less than they ate Thanksgiving Day.
And it's not
then that Saturday, they're going to do with it.
It's your Christmas, it's your birthday.
So any of those
go
days.
Go on a cruise. We have a schedule for anything that you want. Like if you go on a cruise, what we'll do is we'll give you a list of foods with all the carbohydrates on them. So you'll know if you eat a lobster with baked potato, and you'll know how many carbs is in the lobster. You'll know how many carbs is in the baked potato. So then that way you can kind of gear what you're doing, so then that way, even when you come back. And one of the things I tell people is, if you come to my office, like we've had people who lost 35 pounds and we see them a year later and they gained 10 pounds back. So now I said, man, you're still winning because you're 25 pounds lighter than when you first came to us. So basically that's the objective. And some people say, I want to lose 50 pounds. Then when you get to 30, it's like, I want to lose more weight. Well, it's your body. I'm not going to sit here and say, man, I think you should know. You need to do what you feel comfortable with. But I think one of the reasons why we have so much success is because we are realistic with people. One of the things we tell people, there is no perfect weight loss system. And all of these, the needles, the pills and all of that, what are you going to do when you can't do that anymore? You know, I mean, and now people are having real bad side effects from those things. So here's one of the things I tell people. The only person that can put something in your mouth is you. And the scale don't lie. And the one thing that we must overcome as a race of people is not to dig our graves with our teeth. We eat for funerals, for weddings, and what's crazy is this. Okay, we'll go to the funeral because so-and-so had a heart attack. You know, we've been in the church since 9:30. It's now 1:30. We out in the gravesite, and we come back and eat the same food that killed him. Yeah. You know, we eat the ham, the mashed potatoes, you know. So, you know, one of the things we always say, just be conscious about what you're putting in your body. There are no perfect eaters. You know, I mean, we all still working on, you know, I probably weigh 185 pounds now, but I still got the synovial fluid. I mean, not the synovial fluid, the visceral belly fat, which is ironically, your belly fat is the worst fat because it affects your heart. Believe it or not, people don't realize this, but it affects Alzheimer's because what happens is it slows down the flow. Wow! Because you get so much, what you call it, guys? What's that? What you call it?
You mean your intestines?
No. What you call it when it's on the walls?
Oh, stenosis?
No. What's
plaque?
Plaque. Yeah, you get so much plaque down in your system until it makes it harder for the blood to flow through your, so and another thing too, and this is the last thing that I promise I'm gonna let y'all talk. Okay, one of the things I tell people is this: your body acts as a car. Okay, food is your gas and water is your oil. So many times we run into people, especially women. I don't like drinking a lot of water, make me go to the bathroom. First thing I tell them is, once you get a certain age, we all go to the bathroom when we drink a lot of water. Well, what people don't really realize is, if you don't drink enough water, it's just not like putting enough oil in your car. You're going to burn up your engine, which is you. Because what the water does is the water helps lubricate the joints in your body. And there's something in your spinal cord that's called synovial fluid. And if you don't get enough fluid to that
talk about the joints.
The joints. In the joints, because here's what happens too. When you don't drink enough water, your spinal cord will start to take fluid from your joints, like your arms, your knees, your elbows, and you wake up and your back hurting and all. That's because you're not drinking enough water. So one of the things we tell people is to try to drink at least 4 16-ounce bottles of water per day, minimum. So, but that's why it's really important to, make sure you lubricate your body with enough water. Okay.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. Go ahead, Yana. You have anything, Yana?
All right. And so I don't know. I know I've met people who exercise all the time. They seem to always be eating a salad or something, but for some reason they can't lose weight. Are there genetic? Why are you laughing? I was being so serious. Are there genetic factors that impact weight loss? Is it stress? What from your experience, what have you seen?
Let me tell you my theory. And this is the theory that I have. If you watch a person go to the gym for a month, I guarantee you the same way they're going to look the same way they went in. It's been the same way they go out. People that go to, here's the biggest mistake people make when they go into the gym. Like I said, as we get older and our metabolism slow down, even if we go into the gym, we can't eat the way we ate 10 years ago. Because basically what you're doing is you're going to the gym, you're working it off, and then you're putting it right back on, because the biggest mistake is, because I'm going to the gym, I can eat what I want to eat. Well, that's why your weight stay the same. And like I said, the scale does not lie. I mean, ultimately, you can tell me you're going to the gym every day. You can tell me, but like I said, it goes back to what you're putting in your mouth.
But not only that, when you go to the gym, oftentimes people going, they lifted weights, they're trying to build muscle. Well, muscle weighs more than fat. So their muscles might be looking a little bit better, but when they get on the scale, they might weigh more. simply because they have built up the muscles, and so there's still fat in different areas.
That's why, we always tell people, if you notice, the biggest loser is not on TV anymore. It's hard to lift weights and lose weight at the same time. Here's what we tell people. If you want to lose 30 pounds, lose 25 pounds, then tone up the last 5 pounds. Yeah. Because once you get to a certain age, what are you going to the gym lifting a lot of weights for? All you basically trying to do is tone up what you've lost. But don't, because just like she said, because one of the things you got to realize too is your metabolism slow down, even if you're lifting all those weights. So you're not burning the fat like you used to. So that's why, just like she said, what you'll do is you'll gain weight because you'll put muscle on top of fat before you lose the weight. That's why it's harder to do that.
So it's really nothing wrong with having personal trainers to help you get your body back in shape and all of that. But you want to get them after you have lost quite a bit of the weight or lost a lot of the fat, so that now they can tone up the rest of it.
Okay.
Okay, great. And so tell us one of your biggest success stories.
Wow. Okay. Her sister, she passed last year? She about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
She had gastric bypass surgery. And it went about 10 years, 12 years. Yeah. And then she started gaining all of the weight back. She came to us. She lost over 100 pounds. But we believe, and I really believe, because of the gastric bypass surgery that she had 30 years ago, it was complications. And her blood sugar level would drop all the time. And about a year ago, we were talking to her Thursday at 3 o'clock, and Friday at 3 o'clock, she was gone. So, but she was a success story. We also had another young lady that was, she had a stroke at birth. And she was in a program where they would come and pick her up every day, but they were getting ready to put her out of the program because she was too obese. And they actually weighed her in like a scale where you just sit in the harness and you had to weigh it, and almost like you do. Don't you know how you weigh stuff in at the grocery store, right? And she couldn't hardly talk. But she lost like 110 pounds. They gave her a certificate. But if you go on Facebook, Negate the Weight, you'll see about 15 success stories of people that lost 45, 48, 50 pounds.
And I think the other success stories, we had a family of 4, the husband, wife, and 2 kids. All of them lost over 100 and something pounds. But the other big success stories that we have is, I never thought we would have people that would potentially get off of insulin. Because I thought you're on insulin, you're going to be on insulin for life. We had people that were able to get off of insulin. We had people that were able to get off metformin or other medications for
high blood pressure medication,
for diabetes and high blood pressure. So we had somebody that was actually labeled a diabetic. And when she went back to the doctor was like, I don't know what happened, but what happened was she lost like 25, 30 pounds, and she was no longer diabetic.
Well, I think I told you about Ricky Dillard, right? Remember I was telling you about Ricky Dillard? Yeah. Ricky Dillard probably weighed 140 pounds, but when he went to the doctors, he was pre-diabetic. So basically what he did was he came to us. We put him on a healthy eating schedule for 3 or 4 months. And when he went back to the doctors, he wasn't diabetic anymore. And but what we do with him is every week, we monitor his so we've had phenomenal success with people losing weight, because I think one of the things we do is we just try to be realistic. Like I said, if you lose 30 pounds, even if you gain back 10 pounds, you're still winning, because you're still 20 pounds ahead of the game. And people don't realize that if you lose just 10 pounds, that'll take 30 pounds of pressure off your knees. If you lose just 10 pounds, it can stop you from having sleep apnea. If you lose just 10 pounds, it can stop you from being diagnosed with cancer. It can stop you from having trouble with your heart. So, it's just, and it's not so much as you get older. To me, it's not so much how physically fit you are, but I take that back. It's not, you don't have to do a lot of stressful stuff being physical fit. Walking is good. You know, I tell people, if you have steps in your house, use your steps in your house. Use a chair to do exercise on. You can exercise for 1 minute, but it's what you put in your mouth.
But I think what
it's
the people,
what you
one
eat.
of the things that the people like about us is because in a lot of the different programs now, and especially since so much stuff is gone electronic, you don't actually get to talk to someone that much. You're checking the weight yourself. You're doing this, you're doing that. But they know that they can call us. Yes, they can text us, but they can call us. We have spoken to people that's in our program. I remember one lady, wasn't it her mother was ill, and she was driving from our area all the way to like North Carolina. We talked to her for about, I guess, 2.5, 3 hours while she was driving down there because she was by herself. And we could tell that she was, you know, emotionally drained by what she was doing. A lot of times when people have those emotional drains, that's when they really might start to eat. So the next thing I know, we was talking to her and she went to this state, she went to that state, and we just talked to her until she got close enough to it. And I don't think she will ever in life forget us for what we did with that.
And ironically, you know, basically what people do is they come weighing on Saturdays, or we can do it virtually too. But a lot of times weight loss is the last thing we talk about. You know, we talk about life, we talk about politics, we talk about, because it gets to the point where it's not personal, but you really care about the people that you're really trying to help, you know. So, you know, a lot of times it's not about what you ate and what you did and what you didn't do, you know. It's just about
but sometimes the things that's going on in life are the things that make you potentially eat.
Just like now we're running into a lot of people that are losing their jobs, you know. So I mean, so we've had to deal with people that's you know, okay, so how do we help them? Because we're gonna help them, you know, praise be to God, we're gonna help them. But you know, it's like, you know, how do you help somebody that's been on a job for 15 or 20 years and they go to work one day, you know? So, but like one of the things I always tell people, we as African Americans, we've been through worse things before. And that's my theory, you know what I mean? So, but I mean, you know, so we really enjoy what we're doing. Both of us have a passion for doing what we're doing. If your listener audience, if anybody have any questions, you know, I can give you my information. If you're interested in buying the food, what you do is you go on NegateTheWeight.com and you click on meal prep, and what you'll do is we'll have the meals that are listed for that week. Basically what we have people do is we have people come to the office every Friday or Saturday to pick up the meals, and people usually buy like a week's worth of meals. But if you're elderly, we'll bring the meals to you. You know, we'll work it out. And, you know, one of the things I always tell people too is if you have a money issue, don't let money be a problem. We can work something out. You know, we need to keep the lights on, but the reality of it is, we're not going, we're going to do the best we can to help you. You know what I mean?
So I got a problem with that.
Okay.
Coach and Dr. Ross. Now you said if you're the elderly, you'll deliver, right?
Yeah.
Now, what if I want something? You wouldn't deliver to me? I have to come get it?
Hey, brother, you are an elder. You know that, don't you? I know. Don't even try. You are an elder.
Hey, look. Now I'm getting ready to put. Now this is my uncle. I'm getting ready to put his business out in the street. Okay. You see what he said? Can you see that?
Oh. Yeah, Biz, I need your help. What are the simple things I can do to lose 20?
All right.
Now, come on, Uncle K.
Before you touch that, right? And I was going to ask you this.
Okay.
I was going to ask you this anyway, right? In my uncle's case, what do you do if a person works out but use that as an excuse to eat at McDonald's? Go eat a pie. What do you do? How can you control that?
And you know what, bro? It's called being delusional. Hey, look, what I would say to your uncle is, Uncle Kim, call your friend, brother Anthony Stewart. He lost 48 pounds in our program. To be honest with you, we probably had about 15 or 20 Q's lose over 30 pounds in our weight loss program. So he can contact any of those guys, and they will tell him. And 25 pounds is, especially if you're going to the gym. But getting back to what I said, because you go to the gym don't mean you can eat the same stuff you used to eat 15 years ago. You can't do it because your metabolism, and those are some of the things that we need to come. A lot of this stuff, man, 75% of this is mental. So a lot of this stuff, man, you need to tell yourself, I'm not going to McDonald's. I'm just not going to do it. I'm a bypass McDonald's. Now, I'm not saying you got to eat a salad every day. Okay, here's what I tell people. The quickest way to lose weight is drink a lot of water, eat a lot of fish, and eat a lot of vegetables. Because basically what you want that to do, we have what we call 1 hour foods and 3 hour foods. What you want that food to do is you eat that food, you get the nutrition from the food, and then you digest the food. When you start eating food like red meats and all that, it stays in your digestive system longer. Pasta and all of those things stay in your digestive system longer. So try to eat healthy. The healthier you eat, the better it'll be for you and the easier it'll be for you to lose weight. Got you.
Now, all right, Ayana, I'm getting ready to tag him with the Newlyweds.
Hey, yeah, okay. Yeah, I've been kind of looking forward to this, so come on with it.
But before I get there,
all right, let's go.
We're gonna do that now, all right? So, all right, coach and doctor, I heard an answer earlier, but I'm going to re-ask this question. Who made the first move?
She did.
I did.
She did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, she did.
So how did you do it? Did you give him a cell phone, say put your number in it? How was that?
She hunted me down, bro. She hunted me down.
It wasn't any cell phones around back then. Nobody had phones. And so we were at Peerless. And my sister and cousin actually begged me to come, but I said, I'm not going there because they're going to be smoking. It's going to get all in my clothes and everything.
And ironically, Gatewood, I don't know if you know Gatewood, but he begged me to come because I wasn't going to go.
So that's what's kind of odd that we both have a similar situation. And Gatewood begged him to come. They begged me to come. And when I got there, I saw him. I was, well, who was that? I wasn't expecting to see nobody like that. So when the thing was almost over, last call, I asked my sister, I said, well, did he leave? Where'd he go? She said, honey, he downstairs. I said, oh, really? So I walked downstairs and he's sitting there with his boys. And I put my little chair right beside him. And I told him my name and he told me his name. And I said, and what's your phone number? And so he gave me his number. He said, you need to write it down? I said, no. I don't need to write it down. And so that was that. So I said, well, I'm going to have to wait a couple of weeks before I call him because I don't want him to think I'm desperate. But I did make the first move.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, who was the first one to burp? Who burped first?
Me.
Oh, yeah.
Was it
because I was a beer drinker, bro. So hey man, look, you know, bro, the 80s was a wild time, man. So I probably burped and a whole lot of other stuff I had no business doing. But praise be to God, bro. She stuck with me, man. She stuck with me. So I thank God for that. Yeah.
All right. Okay. What was your first fight together?
First fight.
Oh, one night, I can tell you, one night I wanted to go out and she didn't want me to go out. Now, mind you, I had probably sit in the house and had enough of whatever I was doing. And she said, you ain't going nowhere. So she stood in front of the door and I didn't go either, did I? No, I didn't go. I didn't go. So
how you gonna leave out here? You already in this condition and you gonna leave now to go out? Nah. Yeah. Wasn't no Ubers or nothing like that out back then.
During that time, man, when you your mind tell you, when you're young, you feel like you can do anything. And really, that had been the way we had been living anyway. What enough for us drink 8 or 9 beers and drive wherever we was driving. That's just what you did.
But Armin, I'm gonna tell you what my dad told him. My dad told him that I saved his life.
Yeah,
Is that what he told you?
yeah.
And
Because supposedly she came to Annapolis and rescued me.
she told him that I rescued him.
Yeah, well, you know what? To be honest with you, bro, I was out there, so I just.
But we didn't argue the first year. Maybe it's because we didn't know everything about each other by getting married so quick.
Because, like I said,
the first year, I don't recall us arguing.
I married
ever.
We got married in 4 months. So
3 to 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't recall us
and
really having
what's
any
ironic
arguments.
is a lot of the people that got married around that time, they're not married. We the only people kind of just left. So.
And so I told him, I said, well, we're going to have to wait at least a year to have a child because otherwise everybody's going to say, oh, that's why they got married.
Because everybody kept saying we got married because she was pregnant and all of that. So, but to be honest, man, looking back at it, it was really the hand of God. You know, it was.
Yes.
It was.
Yeah.
It was intimate. I had been praying. I had kind of tired of living the life I was living in. And, I just asked God to change my life. And that's basically what he did. So, and this, she been getting on my nerves ever since, but I love her to death.
I love him more.
Well, you know what? All right. My last question. All right.
Okay.
Who said I love you first?
He did.
Did I? Mm-hmm.
You know what I did because I wanted to make sure he didn't forget what he did. He brought me a card and he gave it to me and he said, it says, I never get tired of saying it and I never get tired of hearing it. And then it said, I love you. So I knew 5 or 10 years later, he was going to forget about what he said.
I didn't say that.
So I kept it. I still have it.
But you know what? Hey, Ayana, do you have anything for the two power couple before we get out of here? And I'm also gonna show you what Champ Downs asked. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. One of our viewers had a quick question. Says, what are your thoughts on powders, moringa waters, and smoothies with holistic teas?
What is it?
Okay. Can you repeat the question?
Here it is right here. What is your thoughts on these powders, smoothies, and holistic?
I don't know what a powder. Okay. Let me say this to you. We've been in business now for almost 15 years, right? Mm-hmm. There's so many new things are coming out. And because we live in such a diverse culture now, different people come with different things. So the first thing I will tell you is I don't know everything about everything. If you bring something to me, what I'll do is I'll research and find out what it is and what it's supposed to do. But I will say this. You need to be careful when you start dealing with a lot of processed food. Anytime man has his hand in something that's processed. Now, for the most part, I think it's 65 to 75% of the food that we eat is processed. So, and I'm not saying that like what this person has is bad for you or anything like that, but get back to what I said. Always read anything before you eat it. If it's high in sodium, if it's high in sugar, and if it has something like cane sugar, cane syrup, those are just code names for sugar.
Now, ironically, within this last week, somebody brought us a big jar of protein powder that they wanted to use. They wanted to give themselves more energy. Well, the first thing we did was looked at the label. And so that's what I would tell the person that just asked is to look at the label so you can see how many carbohydrates, just like he said, how much sugar is in it, how much salt is in it. So from there, you can tell whether or not, is this really healthy or not? Because sometimes people tell you something is healthy, but when you look at the label, you find out that it's really not as healthy as you want it to be. And in 1 cup of that particular protein drink that they brought, it had 117 carbohydrates in it. Now, he just told you to lose weight, you have to have between 50 and 100. Now, 1 cup is 117 carbs. So you'd already went over what you needed to lose weight.
And another example I use real quick is if you go to Giant and you buy a lean cuisine, and that's supposed to be a healthy meal for you, and it might fit the criteria that we use is no more than 8 grams of sugar, no more than 15 carbs, but then it'll have 4,800 milligrams of sodium in it. Mm-hmm. So basically, it might fit the carb and the sugar count, but it's too much salt in it. And basically what that salt will do is put fluid on you, and that will subsequently make you gain more weight. Plus it'll also spike your blood pressure. So, the most important thing is always read what you're putting in your body. always. And like I said, I want to reemphasize there are no perfect eaters. So I know it's almost time to leave. Can I give you my information and you give it out, or can I give out my information? Or
Absolutely. This is
okay.
your night. Yeah.
Okay. If you all have any questions, you can give me a call. And the name of the company is Negate. My number is 240-393-3203. Once again, my number is 240-393-3203. If you want to know where we are, if you want to know about the food, just like Alma said, the food is really, really good. And basically what we do is we give you enough food for 2 meals. Okay. We try to accommodate you. And like I said, we've had people come as far away as the Eastern Shore to get food. We've had people come as far away as North Carolina to get food. We've had people come from Odenton, Jessup, So we've had people come from everywhere because, like I said, you might not want to lose any weight. You might want to just eat healthy, and you might put yourself on a regimen where you're eating healthy. You buy food from us 1 week, then 1 week you eat what you want, because in that way that will kind of put you in a healthier, mind frame and mindset. So, like I said, if you want to do anything about weight loss, or if you have any questions, because basically what I'm gonna do is, we did this about 2 years ago. Every Wednesday we would go on for about 15 minutes, and I would give you a Bible verse, and I would also give you a healthy eating tip for the day, and we would do that because a lot of times people don't know what they're eating or how they're eating it and when to eat it. So, yeah.
As far as the smoothie, we would help you know what you need to put in the smoothie.
Right.
The smoothies are not necessarily bad for you, but you just got to know what you're putting in the smoothie.
Okay. As a rule of thumb, here's how you do a smoothie. If you're going to the gym, pineapples, bananas, watermelon, all that, because you're going to work it off. If you're not going to the gym, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, because they're less concentrated in sugar. Yeah, spinach. Well, put the vegetables. They're less concentrated in sugar. Okay.
Awesome.
Oh man, look, we really appreciate it.
So did we win the prize for the Newlywed game?
Oh, you got it. You got it. That's it. Yana, do you have anything you want to say to our power couple?
Well, this has been so much fun. We look forward to having you guys back in the future. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And one of the things we like to always leave people with, I always tell people that no weapon formed against you should prosper. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Everything you touch, yourself with prosperity and truth. God be the glory. And thank you so much for having us. I appreciate y'all. We love you.
Now, before you go, don't leave yet. I want to thank both of you for getting me in trouble. My wife was watching the show tonight, and she heard everything you said.
Yeah.
And now I have to sneak out the house and go to a nap just to eat what I want to eat. You see?
You know what, brother? I just want to tell you, you just been married. Your sneaking days will soon be over. Trust me. And look, trust me, for somebody after 39 years, going on 39 years, it's going to be over real soon.
Well, I want to thank everybody out there for watching the show tonight. This has been fun, been great. We even played the Newlywed game tonight. It was excellent. Next week, we're going to have another fabulous guest. We're going to have Sylvia Ennis and her story. You do not want to miss her story. She actually had a situation where she has a tree that fell on her and it went into her abdomen. So next week you wanna hear this powerful story that she's gonna tell, and just like we want to thank everybody for being transparent and telling your story, talking about yourselves on the show. That's what makes this show so unique and so great. People aren't afraid to share and tell their stories. The following week we're gonna have after Sylvia Ennis, we're gonna have us a former football player. What's his name, Ayana?
John Booty.
John Booty. He played with the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right.
So he'll be on the show the following week after Sylvia. So keep supporting the show. If you like what we do, support the show by donating, become a sponsor. help us keep the show going. If you enjoy what you see every Wednesday at 8:00, we come on the air and we try to give you the absolute best. Do you guys have anything inspirational or positive you want to leave before we get out of here?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Ayana. Nice meeting you. We've had a blast. It's been a ball. Like I said, anytime we can get information out to help people, and that's really what it's all about, man. And we thank God every day. I thank God every day that He gave me the anointing over my life in order to do this so I can help people, to help people grow. And He gave me favor over myself to meet people like you all that will help people grow. So as long as we keep collaborating with each other, and that's the key to it. We'll grow if we just keep collaborating with each other. And Armand, once again, brother, thank you, man. Appreciate you. I love you. Keep doing what you're doing. And to God be the glory, bro.
Ditto.
Amen.
I agree.
Dr. Roz, you have anything? I
agree with everything he said. You notice y'all have figured out already who the talker is, right?
I already knew that. I knew that.
But I do agree with everything he said. I certainly appreciate you all having us on the show. Tell Miss Deja that we appreciate it.
She did a great job
bringing us into the nice to see some young people that's doing different things as well.
Yes. Ayana, you have anything you want to lead?
No, it's been wonderful. Look forward to having you back. And thank you to our viewing audience. Thank you to our sponsors. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
Okay.
Until next week. Peace.
Right on.